The rain was hammering my cabin's roof like it had a personal vendetta, and I was stuck inside with 4 uninvited guests who thought they could bully me out of my home. My name's Jake Carter, a 34-year-old Army vet who runs a small plumbing business in the quiet hills of Willow Creek, Montana. It's June 2023, and I'm in my grandfather's old cabin, a rugged, cedar-walled retreat nestled on the edge of Crystal Lake. I inherited this place 3 years ago from Grandpa Joe, a Vietnam vet who taught me how to stay calm under pressure, think 3 steps ahead, and never back down from a fight. That wisdom was about to come in handy, because a storm wasn't the only thing brewing tonight. A woman named Evelyn Moore, a disgraced HOA president with a chip on her shoulder, had just waltzed into my home with 3 strangers, acting like they owned every plank of wood. By the time this storm cleared, they'd regret ever stepping foot on my property. It all started 6 months earlier when Evelyn, a self-styled guardian of Willow Creek's aesthetic standards, got voted out of her HOA throne for being a control freak. She didn't take it well. Her obsession with my cabin prime lakefront real estate had turned her into a one-woman harassment machine. Fake violations about my unkempt property, anonymous complaints to the county, even a lawsuit claiming my cabin was a public nuisance. I fought back, calling the sheriff and hiring a lawyer, but Evelyn was relentless, countersuing with fabricated witness statements from her loyal followers. The legal system was dragging its feet, and she was getting bolder. At a town meeting last month, she stood up and declared she'd legally remove me, bragging about hiring a professional to handle my case. My neighbor, Sam, tipped me off that some guy named Victor had been snooping around the county records office, digging into my deed. When I heard Evelyn's threats align with a forecast for a massive June storm, I knew trouble was coming. That Friday afternoon, as thunder rumbled in the distance, a sleek gray SUV pulled into my driveway. Out stepped Victor Langston, dressed in a crisp constable uniform, badge gleaming, utility belt loaded, holding what looked like official court papers. Evelyn followed, practically beaming with smug satisfaction, trailed by 2 younger strangers, a guy filming everything on his phone and a woman scribbling notes like she was auditing a crime scene. My gut told me to call Sheriff Daniels, but my instincts, honed from years in combat zones, screamed opportunity. If Evelyn was desperate enough to fake legal authority, I could catch her red-handed. I'd been preparing for this: security cameras, backup power, and a hidden recorder tucked away for emergencies. Victor approached my porch, voice booming like he'd rehearsed it. "Jacob Carter, I'm Constable Langston with the county sheriff's office. I have court orders requiring your immediate compliance regarding this property." The papers he waved had seals, signatures, the works. Evelyn was practically vibrating with glee, while the 2 kids later I learned their names were Lily and Ethan positioned themselves to capture my surrender on video. I played dumb, channeling just enough nervous homeowner to keep them confident. "Officer, I'm confused. What court orders? I haven't gotten any notices." Victor's smile was sharp, like a used car salesman closing a deal. "These documents supersede prior notifications, Mr. Carter. We need to resolve this now, or you're facing serious legal consequences." Evelyn chimed in, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Jake, I've tried to work with you for months about your property violations. Since you've ignored the HOA's reasonable requests, we've had to escalate." The nerve of this woman, standing in my grandfather's cabin, lecturing me while trying to steal it with forged papers. Victor's eagerness to rush things set off alarms. Real constables don't grin like that when you ask questions. His hand kept hovering over his badge, and his tone wavered when I pressed for details. Something was off, and my military training was screaming fake. Then the storm hit, and Mother Nature decided to up the stakes. The sky turned black, rain fell in sheets, and the creek by the lake swelled into a roaring beast. The weather app on my phone showed the storm accelerating, severe thunderstorms, flooding risks, and no cell service for miles. The access road to the highway was underwater. We were trapped together, and Evelyn's victory lap was turning into a nightmare. I excused myself to grab my deed, but checked my emergency radio instead. The forecast confirmed we'd be stuck for at least 2 days. I overheard Evelyn coaching Victor to maintain authority and not let me stall with legal nonsense. Ethan was narrating to his phone camera about documenting a historic property seizure, while Lily scribbled notes about my psychological resistance. They had no idea I'd rigged the cabin with cameras and a recorder hidden near their bedroom window. That night, I played the intimidated homeowner, asking Victor about his court orders while watching him squirm. Which court issued these, officer? What's the appeal process? His answers were pure gibberish, vague talk of jurisdictional parameters that wouldn't fool a rookie paralegal. Meanwhile, Evelyn was unraveling, whining about my primitive cabin like it was a war crime to lack Wi-Fi. How am I supposed to document my legal victory without internet? She snapped, as if I owed her a router while she tried to rob me. Ethan was rationing his phone battery, saving it for what he thought would be my surrender. Lily's notes were getting more detailed, analyzing everyone's stress responses. Neither realized they were documenting a federal crime. Around 2 a.m., my hidden recorder struck gold. Evelyn and Victor, thinking I was asleep, spilled their entire plan. How much for this job? Evelyn whispered. 10 grand once Jake signs, Victor replied. These forgeries weren't cheap, but they'll fool anyone who can't verify them. He's too scared to question a constable. They discussed splitting profits from selling my cabin to a developer and how Victor had pulled similar scams in Idaho and Nevada. But then Victor said something that froze my blood. Like we learned in Idaho, no loose ends. Witnesses who talk to feds are a problem. This wasn't just fraud. These were dangerous people with a history of silencing threats. The next morning, I reviewed the recording over coffee, my heart pounding. This was bigger than a local scam. Victor was part of a multi-state operation targeting veterans' properties. Lily, it turned out, was Evelyn's niece, a psychology grad student roped in to document my mental instability if I resisted. Ethan was hired to film my compliance for viral content. The storm kept us locked in, so I kept playing dumb while probing Victor's fake authority. What's the process for contesting a seizure? I asked. His response, more legal nonsense, confirmed he was no constable. Evelyn's entitlement was crumbling. She threw tantrums over the composting toilet and demanded gourmet food from my emergency supplies. Watching her struggle without her usual army of assistants was almost funny, but Victor's veiled threats about accidents in isolated areas kept me on edge. By day 2, the group was fracturing. Lily found my recorder while cleaning and confronted me subtly. What's your security system like, Jake? She asked, clutching the device. I shrugged. Just me and Grandpa's old rifle. Her nervous smile told me she knew what was up. When she showed Victor and Evelyn the recorder, they panicked, demanding to search my cabin for more illegal surveillance. I calmly mentioned the Fourth Amendment, and Victor's flustered response claiming authority to secure evidence exposed his ignorance. His badge, up close, was a cheap prop, the kind you'd buy for a costume party. The serial number traced to a theater supply company. Evelyn's meltdown hit new heights as she realized her legal scheme was a federal crime. She screamed at Victor. You said this would be simple. He snapped back. You wanted the cabin, lady. Don't cry now. A crackle on the emergency radio changed everything. Any station, this is Sheriff Daniels. Active search for suspects Evelyn Moore, alias Margaret Hayes, and Victor Langston, armed and dangerous fraud suspects. Victor's face went white. Armed and dangerous? I hadn't seen weapons, but his satellite phone hidden until now was buzzing with urgent calls. He whispered about complications and 6 hours. Was he planning an escape or something worse? Evelyn was a mess, demanding her lawyer, while Ethan and Lily, now fully aware they'd been duped, started filming Victor's erratic behavior. By day 3, I was done playing nice. I announced new rules. No work, no food or heat. Evelyn, in her designer boots, flailed at chopping firewood, cursing like a toddler. Victor, tasked with cleaning the toilet, kept sneaking off for phone calls. I rationed power from the generator, forcing them to face the reality of their situation. Ethan's footage and Lily's notes were now documenting a criminal conspiracy, not a legal win. Then, helicopter rotors thrummed overhead. Sheriff Daniels' voice crackled. Jake Carter, suspects in custody prep. Outstanding evidence collection. But as the chopper landed, I saw a man in a suit, not a uniform, step out, carrying a briefcase and radiating authority. Victor looked relieved, not scared. Was this his backup? My heart raced as the man approached, but the letters FBI on his jacket eased my fears. He was Agent Carter, Financial Crimes Division. Victor wasn't Victor Langston, but Daniel Vance, a career criminal with warrants in 9 states for fraud, impersonation, and violence. Evelyn had hired him, believing he was a legit constable. The FBI had been tracking his network, using his satellite calls to map it out. My recordings, Ethan's footage, and Lily's notes sealed their fate. Daniel faced 10 years in prison. Evelyn got 2, her entitled life shattered by kitchen duty in federal lockup. Her viral arrest footage made her a cautionary tale, and she ended up a janitor, shunned by her old social circle. Ethan became an investigative journalist, his documentary exposing fraud racking up awards. Lily's thesis on criminal manipulation earned her a career consulting with law enforcement. The cabin case sparked a federal task force, dismantling a $5 million fraud ring targeting veterans. I became a consultant, speaking to police and veterans groups about spotting scams. But victory came with a cost. My inbox flooded with pleas for help and threats. One email from a Wyoming veteran chilled me. "They're using your playbook, Jake. Same fake badges, same threats. But they mentioned you by name." My win had painted a target on my back. What would you do if criminals targeted your home with fake legal authority? Have you ever faced someone who thought they could bully you into submission? Drop your stories below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more real-life justice tales. Should I head to Wyoming and take on this new threat? Let me know what you think, because this fight might just be getting started.